So, welcome Noni Goldman to the Lori Lucian podcast. I am so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
So, Noni, I'm going to briefly tell people that you are an expert in cultivation. You're an expert in seed to sale compliance. You're an expert in helping companies form product manufacturing, cultivation efficiencies. And my thing is, I don't really see many people who look like you doing what you do,
No.
whether it's a woman, whether it's a person of Asian descent, you know, like it's just all of it is just very anomalous in the best way possible. So Miss Noni Goldman, tell me, who the fuck are you?
All right. So I'm Noni Goldman. I'm 35 years old. I'm a process engineer for the cannabis industry. What that means is I basically build efficiencies in all the different departments. My background is in large scale cultivation, having started in the New York medical market in 2016. And since then, I've just bounced around as a consultant at different organizations. I worked in Canada. Through Seed to Sale, I worked with, man, so many different states and in their varying degrees of regulations. Um, I'm also an activist and an educator.
Yeah. So many titles, many hats. So my
Yeah,
question though is like, first, how did you even get into cannabis? Bring
sure.
us to the beginning of your the love story.
Yeah, definitely. So it was a fluke. I think, like most people in New York in 2016, when that medical market opened up, it took a lot of us by surprise because there's only like four big operators. I think it was Pharmacanis, Curaleaf, Columbia Care, and Etain. And Etain's the only one that was like people from New York. Everyone else was an MSO.
Yeah.
So these giant greenhouses popped up in the Hudson Valley, close to where I was. And at that time, I was working for a luxury importer of caviar and specialty cheeses.
What?
So yeah, so
Listen.
my role was in like logistics for all of this and working with the wholesale team and also the fishery, and that was what I guess appealed to Pharmacanis. But like most startups, their wholesale channel was secondary to like actually starting up the greenhouses and scaling. And I
Mm.
do have experience in traditional agriculture. So what ended up happening was I was just part of the startup team for the greenhouses, and we expanded from like 0 plants to 50,000 square feet and all of the intricacies of vertical operations and new regulated markets and it being like a really strict medical market. Um, so that was my first cannabis job. And
Wow.
then when adult use happened in Massachusetts, me and my friends were here every weekend going to like Boston Freedom Rally and checking out different dispensaries, trying to get into Netta and cultivate like that first weekend when adult use happened. And then also understanding the caregiver network and the ability to home grow. These are all foreign concepts to New York. So it very quickly translated to me wanting to be here full time. Uh, so so now I'm the director of sales for Milltown Agriculture. This is a really cool project. This is in Holyoke. This is a renovated 1901 factory building that used to house the National Blank Book Factory, where like I think 1 out of 8 people in Holyoke used to work here.
What?
Uh, so yeah, so every time we have a contract or anything else, they tell us this amazing story about their personal family tied to this building.
Oh,
And
that's
now we grow wheat.
wonderful.
Yeah, now we grow wheat in it, which is amazing. Um, and this is a multi-cannabis tenant building, so there's a dispensary popping up. Um, there's enough space for us to sublease to like boutique specialty manufacturing to jumpstart our own incubator program. So right now, Milltown is just focused on the cultivation and the canopy expansion, but there's so much happening in this building. It's going to be really exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love these little sectors of cannabis. Like they're just concentrated units.
Yeah, and so much is concentrating in Holyoke. It's amazing.
Exactly. I remember when legalization first occurred, I went to Holyoke to talk to the mayor and the whole team over there, and they were the chillest group I've ever met in my entire life. They were like, "What?"
Chillest.
They were like, "Come over here. We got HCAs." They were like making it rain HCAs.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the things that really appealed to me about Holyoke as well, where we had like obviously everybody looking for an HCA when they first started happening had limited communities that were even like entertaining cannabis entrepreneurs, but also like there were some towns that were asking to cut a $15,000 check just for the pleasure of looking at the application. And Holyoke, when we went to go meet with Alex Morris, the mayor at the time, he had like a ream of HCAs and he just tore one off and said like, if this is good to you, this is good for us. So that was amazing.
Superb. So now let's talk about, now we're getting into like some issues with licensing, and like let's remove the word issue and
Sure.
say challenge.
Challenge.
Because it makes us feel better. So tell me, because you already know, like the cannabis industry is wild in the sense that we're creating it as it develops. And
Yep.
so due to that, I have a lot of forgiveness for some of the things that have occurred, but things that have occurred that have made, people not as happy. What have you had? So what are some of the challenges that you feel comfortable sharing with the listeners, and
Yeah.
some tips to overcome them?
Well, I mean, there's a lot, and especially as this time has gone by, I think that things are kind of coming out in the wash about how difficult this whole process has been, especially for the ones who are really bootstrapping it. And my heart goes out to every single operator that's bootstrapping it because it's so hard to, first of all, find the capital resources and also like what that means if you're bringing in outside investments, then also dealing with the minutia of working with a municipality, and then also the changing regulations of the CCC, just to name a few high level things. But I think it's really interesting now we're getting a lot of transparency from people about how difficult the process has been to them as individuals and their families. People who are saying, like, to get through the licensing process, I couldn't turn on my heat during the winter. And that was a sacrifice that I made to get my micro business up and running. That hurts my heart, like, as a empathetic individual. So there's an interesting perception, I think, from consumers that we're all just floating millionaires. And some of us are, I'm not. And a lot of the people that we actively work to develop partnerships with, they're small family funds. Um, so I think it's really important for everybody who participates in the industry or visits a dispensary or even is just interested in learning more about the plant, understanding the roadmap to legalization, understanding that was like built on the hard work, unpaid work for the most part of the activists who pushed us through there, and how the medical market really helped people with palliative care and cancer patients and all of that. And then now, as we move into the like expanded legal industry, how many people are coming from such different backgrounds, from caregiver networks, from local farms trying to adapt their outdoor grows into cannabis plants. There's a wide tapestry of things, but so far as like the issues of the regulations, like Lori, like you were saying before, they're building this rocket ship as they're trying to launch it. So what that happens is, bullshit rolls downhill. So the
Right.
little guy is always the one that is the most impacted by it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you were talking about is the difficulty on the families and on people who think that we're all rolling in dough. When to
Yeah.
start a business that requires millions of dollars, you're in debt. So you're a negative 2 million, negative a million, some people negative six. So we are like, we're not, I mean, yeah, like we said, some people are wealthy and they're making a lot of money, but it's not the gold rush, bro. You don't just start and like you're making millions and millions. And the market is starting to saturate. You're in a
Yeah.
place like Worcester, you're not making the same money that Netta was making when they first opened. Not
Right.
even close.
No.
And you're in debt. And you're a new operator in a new industry, learning, making mistakes, and your mistakes are extremely costly.
Yes.
Okay, now that I laid out all that stress for you, how how have you managed to maintain your center and your peace through this to not lose your shit?
Oh man, I did. I did lose my shit. I continue to lose my shit on a weekly basis. So I think the first one is
Powerful.
just to have forgiveness and patience with yourself. I think most entrepreneurs are their own worst critics, but like if you look at the trajectory of the work that you've done, like growth is improvement. So that's really important. Just don't be too hard on yourself. But for me specifically, being able to pivot in a new direction, whether that be like you're exploring a partnership that didn't necessarily work out, or you have a plan on like a building design of your cultivation canopy, and oh no, actually the fire department says that the fire rating for this wall won't work, so scrap that and go to another one. Like there's always going to be a hurdle, so just be agile and patient with yourself that you can figure it out.
I love that. It reminds me of like that Miley Cyrus song. There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move. But it ultimately it's about the climb, right?
Yep.
It doesn't matter when you get to the top, you're going to find another one. If
Yep.
you don't have a mountain in front of you, you don't have something to produce dopamine. Dopamine gives you will to live. If you have no will to live, you're going to be depressed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm grateful for the challenges sometimes. They wake my ass up like, get up, big mama.
Yeah, no, I totally I agree with you 100%. And like the human experience is all about growth. And growth is overcoming adversity in some ways. So, you know.
That's exactly it. Now I hate how I have all these passwords because I have to enter it all the time. Wow. And I'm like who the hell's gonna steal your identity, big mama? Who knows?
I think like a lot of people are.
All right. So we talked about who the fuck are you, right? And then we talked a little bit about what you're doing. And to put it in the French, the name of the segment is "What the fuck are you doing?" Um,
I do have one other project that I'm working on that is really interesting and new. We're develop my the founders of Four Trees and I were starting at the Chickadee Farms in New York. This is one of the first 52 provisional farm to dispensary licenses. It was issued by the state of New York like April 13th. So this summer, we'll be spending our time converting the established hemp farm into a high THC farm for that adult use market.
that is exceptional. If y'all don't hurry up and put some respect on my girl's name, like this is exceptional. And these are the types of multi-state operators we like to see, right? You care about the plant, you care about the consumers, you care about the industry, and you also are. I think of us as artists and scientists, where we're trying to improve every aspect of it. And I'm so happy that you were one of the ones who were fortunate enough to make it into New York. You're like, you deserve
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is great. Well, I'm gonna come. I gotta visit this summer when you're.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
in the Hudson Valley. It's just like a beautiful location. What's interesting is like going back into the regulations part of it, what's really interesting is that the adult use dispensary licenses are still under public comment in New York State. So I have a general idea of who's going to be our downstream suppliers, but like that is it's not formalized like right now. So
right.
that's like most things it's stressful, but you just got to roll with the punches.
You really do. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that process? How were you able to get into cannabis in New York? I know it's an interesting path that you took, and it started with like another, hemp, and it went into. You mind explaining to the folks how that process worked, even though the regulations in New York are a little still a little.
Sure. So this is a pretty new development. I feel like the new administration, Governor Hochul really wanted to progress the licensing application that was on the former administration. And one of the things that they prioritized was to build a pathway for established hemp farms into the adult use industry. So the provisional license that they put together was for established hemp farms. So there were you had to be operational for a certain amount of years. I think you had to post revenue, like little things here and there. But if you were a hemp farmer with an established Department of Agriculture license, you were applicable for this license type, and the entrance fee for the license was only 2 grand. So that opened it up to everybody. So that's not something that Massachusetts decided to prioritize, but it is something that New York did. So I'm grateful for that, and we just, we tried. We said, okay, I think we fit all these regulations. We'll sign the check for 2K, and if it doesn't happen, it's only 2K. But if it does, holy shit. Um, so yeah, that's what happened.
And now we're in holy shit land. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
this is exciting. So, are other, so if somebody else had a hemp decided today that they wanted to be included in this, it wouldn't be eligible. Like if I went in, I'm like, yo, I'm
I
gonna
don't believe so.
start hemping tonight. Start hemping.
Yeah. I don't believe so.
So, but this is excellent. And now we're waiting to see how the downstream distributors and retailers are going to be licensed. And man, well, I hope that New York does well by its people, because what they were doing with stop and frisk and just
Awful.
atrocious. Yeah,
Yeah.
just atrocious. Um, so shout out to New York for being for taking some strides in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, now we're in the next phase of our segment. This segment is how the fuck did you get here? And,
Oh
and
man, that
this segment, I would really love to start with like your household. I want to go back to little tiny Noni as a child. How was it growing up in your, what kind of household did you grow up? Was it strict, relaxed? I want to know what produced this boss.
thank you. So I grew up overseas. I didn't really live in the United States until about 2005. But before that, so I was born in Indonesia. And then my dad, he worked for a big multinational construction company doing project management of things like Penn Station, airports, things like that. So big infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
So through that, we bumped around a lot as he was building like these amazing giant structures. So I spent a lot of my childhood in Seoul, South Korea, and then also Bali, Indonesia. My mother's family is from Indonesia, and then also Ithaca, New York, which is where my dad's from. So we would spend summers in Ithaca. And then, so far as like conservative or not, I would say we're pretty conservative, but it's kind of hard to have such a um, strict frame of reference when you're just exposed to so many different
Right.
cultures. Like, obviously, the world is much bigger than what, you know, the Reagan photo in my hallway would like me to believe. So, you know.
That is really interesting. I mean, because I grew up in Haiti. And so
Yeah.
coming to the United States and having to assimilate to the culture and realize, what it means to be a woman in America versus what it means to be a woman in Haiti, what it means to be black in Haiti versus what it means to be. So did you have to, how was it coming back to the United States and trying to assimilate into this or incorporate into
Yeah.
this culture?
Well, thankfully, I would come to Ithaca every summer, so I had that kind of frame of. I wasn't like totally left out of pop culture
Yeah.
references, even though I had to fake like a lot of stuff. Like I had to fake liking Jersey Shore and stuff like that. I had never
Ah,
watched it. Um, but so I always had my childhood friends from New York to kind of fill me in. But it was definitely a culture shock. I think when I was living in Korea, it was so academically rigorous. Even though I went to an international school, it was like 90% Korean. So far as the focus on education, that was my life. So coming back and just being a young adult out of school here, like I had to develop my own identity that wasn't just about, like what was your last test score? Nobody gives a shit. So so that was really interesting. So far as like being a woman or being a minority woman, um, that was different too. Korea is a homogenous culture, and I think just because I'm also Asian, people just thought I had a nicer tan, and I know just enough Korean to kind of get by and shopping and like the taxi and stuff. Um, so like, it was just different not seeing as many people that looked like me or had the same kind of cultural references. Most
Mhm.
Asian cultures are a little bit more reserved, and I think there's like the tall poppy syndrome, which is, um, you know, you're part of a homogenous culture, and if you are too boisterous or you're too loud about your achievements, that's actually kind of like frowned upon.
Mm.
That is the opposite of American culture. You're always supposed to be optimistic and just like professing all of these amazing things that you're doing. So finding where I'm comfortable in that spectrum is was very challenging.
I can absolutely relate to that. The need to be humble and not speak too highly of your achievement is something that I've had to, that's my culture. And then you come here and people want you to tell them everything you're doing. Like, what have you accomplished? So they can like determine how much love and respect to give you.
Right. It's crazy, but it is what it is.
Yo, one time I was at an event and this guy was like, he looked kind of arrogant, not to judge him, but I ended up being correct. So he's talking to me. He's like, so who are you? I'm like, I'm just a human being experiencing life in this time space reality. So he's like, so you're nobody. I'm like, no.
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am nobody because I am nothing. I emerged from the nothingness. And then immediately this young, Devin Alexander,
yeah.
Devin comes up, yo, big mama, don't you know who this lady is? Mama. He just was like blowing my
Yeah.
spot up. And then the guy was like, the fuck? I'm like, sir, my accomplishments don't define me. They're just things that I've done. Who I am is how you feel right now. You'll never
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah.
I'm spicy, I'm zesty. I'll get under your skin, but you'll love it.
I'm also not surprised at all that Devin came in and just hyped you up because he's so good like that.
And no one even like, and it just was out of nowhere too. It was like, yo, this big mama. I was like, oh, yo, dad. I love him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Shout out to the Devster. Let's look at what the next segment holds.
Okay.
This is great. Wait, but I have a question though, because you had
Sure.
Bali, Indonesia. I read Eat,
Mhm.
Pray, Love. So you had the reverse of that bitch. So you started out
Yeah.
you started out
That's totally true.
with that and then went to freaking the opposite end of like hyper logic and how
It's
was
all
that?
about balance. It's all about balance. So like Bali and Seoul are like two polar opposites about approaching adolescence. Like Seoul it's more densely populated than New York City, and like the infrastructure of the city is amazing. Relatively low crime rate too. So I was able, like it wasn't anything for me to be 13 years old and like going on to the subway 12 stops away to go to the mall to go meet up with my friends and things like that. And it was just the school was really rigorous. And then I went to Bali and it's island time. Totally different. So like the school that I was at, my class, I think there was like 11 individuals. The year above me was only two, and the year below me was like seven. So we would combine a lot of the classes. Our assignments would be different, related to like our competency level, but it was still a school on the beach. So those were very different.
I dream of going to Bali and I will. Let me not say dream. I intend to go to Bali.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it. I'll go with you.
Word?
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, don't say less. Next year, like, after Big Mama regenerates like she usually does, we going.
Okay, I'm good. I love it. I want to go to Haiti though. So we'll
Yo,
do
let's go.
like let's
We'll
do
do
it.
it all. And the thing about Haiti too is like I did not get to explore much of it when I was there because I had really, really, really strict parents who would let me out the house except to go to school and to church.
Gotcha.
And I, my whole time there, I went to only parties for my family parties, and maybe three parties from friends who weren't related to me. So I don't know much about the country. I would love for someone to explore it with.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah, we're gonna
it.
go visit all the forts. And the other thing I want to do too in Haiti is like figure out what kind of psychedelic teas these people be drinking, because I know they be on it. Haitians are too much into teas and the herbs to not know the psychedelics. The problem though is the country's so Catholic and strict and anti drugs that
Yeah,
they pushed a lot of the herbal healers into this intellectual inferiority position where they wouldn't even consider them having access. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I have no. So I would love to go and find out what kind of entheogens are growing on that fucking island and do them.
Oh yeah, because they're there.
Dude,
Someone's
they
using them.
are there. After 500 years of slavery, you mean somebody sat there and said this shouldn't be it, and they planned, and we are now free?
Mm,
Come
something
on,
happened.
man. Some shit went down, and I need to know
Mhm.
what it is. I need a sip of it too. Okay,
Sure, no
man.
doubt.
So now we are moving. We're moving, and we're going to slightly transition into work life balance
Sure.
because, like, for a very long time, I had no work life balance because I convinced myself that work was my fun until it drained the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So, like, I know that you're married and you have people you care about. How do you find time to fill that cup while also making sure that you are doing your boss shit?
Yeah, no, work-life balance is so important, and like you, that's I've evolved in my thinking of that, because I'm a workaholic if I don't keep myself in check. Um, my husband, Steve, is also in the industry. He was part of the startup team that we've been consulting with and developing these different projects with. He's part of the New York project as well. So I think it's maybe it's like a little easier for me to see what the real emotional, like physical toll of working a lot is because I see it in someone that I really care about. So when that happens, I go, you know what? Stop. Phones off. Like we got to go out to dinner. We got to go like see a movie, we got to go like go hiking with the dog, something analog, something away from progress because you need to heal. And if you're healing, you can also like give yourself enough room to think creatively. A lot of the problems that we have, if I like take the time to spend the afternoon just like thinking critically or creatively about a solution, it always helps. So I try to remind myself that that's what balance is. And you can't burn the candle at both ends. It's a marathon, not a race. So far as balance, like I'm really sensitive to like the other members of my team. If I feel like I'm pushing them too hard, then like it's my job to kind of like back off on it. But me personally, like dog walks. I watch a lot of like really shitty reality TV. That's like my guilty pleasure, just to turn off and see how another person lives their life.
Girl, what you watching?
Um, 90 Day Fiance.
Don't even get
And
me started. I love
are
that
you
shit.
serious? Oh
Love
my
that
god,
shit. You say
obsessed, obsessed.
who's the was he is he Egyptian? Where his sisters threw the freaking wine in his wife's face when they
Yes,
I would have
she they
sworn.
were they were over at their house. Like that was a nice dinner. Like that just went crazy. But yeah, I love that stuff.
Anyways, everybody watch 90 Day Fiance. It's amazing.
I yeah, so 90 Day Fiance, that's something that I watch a lot of. It's what I tune out to. But then also like just living in Western Massachusetts, there's so much beautiful nature to take advantage of. I live at the base of Mount Tom, so like it's easy for me just to go up there and sometimes cell phone reception isn't so great in the middle of the woods up a mountain and I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. Hold on one second. Right? Um, yeah, so we were talking about
Work life balance.
work-life balance. In the
Yeah. I mean, how do you balance it?
I wasn't for a little bit and I got burnt out. What I have started doing is listening to my body and asking it what it wants to do. the first things I do is I have to pay the piper. Like in order for me to be healthy and have like a good disposition about my life, my body has to be fed. It has to have sufficient sleep. It has to have enough water, and it has to do one thing that relaxes it. So in the morning, I try to do all of that. Go to the gym, journal, stretch, and just mentally prepare myself for the day. Once I've paid the piper, my body's able to just do whatever I want it to do. But until I've given it what it wants, it's not really it's not
Yeah.
really
I, and journaling. I'm a big believer in meditation as well, and I know it's true. Meditation builds resiliency, um, and just like outside of just the craziness of the cannabis industry, the whole world is insane right now. So I'm a big believer in just taking the time to clear out your own mind and build resiliency. And maybe if we all did it,
yep.
the world would be a better place.
Absolutely. I think too when I in before when I used to take a break, it wouldn't be really a break because I would be bringing in the thought of what I should be doing with this free time. And so
Right.
it was even like I might as well have just gone to work. Now, and that's because a lot of my self-esteem, I feel like I relate very much so to a lot of Asian cultures because Haitians have the same strict concept about education, respecting your parents. It's the same fucking shit, bro. And so I grew up in that. And so I had to learn that my value didn't come from producing, from getting an A or from anything. It came from me existing, like just existing. If I did nothing else for the rest of my life, it would be a successful life. And so coming to that awareness allowed me to then take a break and like peacefully disconnect and
Yeah.
yeah, dude, like what I post about is literally what I'm experiencing, and I post it because if I read it and it helped me, it's gonna help another person. But
Yeah.
I oftentimes don't want people to think like, yo, look at this bitch posting, she must be all balanced and at peace all the time. Nah, B, I almost fought a bitch in traffic last week. Like I am not the one. I'm working on
Yeah.
myself like y'all are.
Yeah. Yeah. And just I think it's so helpful just to be honest about that too. So much of what we see in social media is like just the good parts, but I mean, like we're all human beings.
All human beings trying to navigate the freaking trauma of our childhood and integrating the lessons and becoming adults, whatever the hell that means.
Whatever the hell that means.
I've been trying to figure it out for a while. I'm like, does it mean that I have to cook and like, I don't know.
I think it means you're responsible for bills. I feel like that's the only constant that I've seen as to being an adult.
That's it. Besides bills, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, pay your bills and become a child. Go pay, go play, go do something fun for yourself, okay? All right. So now that we're talking about work-life balance, the next segment, as you know, is not going to be a segment where I smoothly transition. Nah, bitch, no smooth transition here. The next segment is how the fuck are you fucking? And this is a segment, and the purpose of this segment is to really talk about sex, and it's because I grew up in a culture that was very strict, and even me being a woman talking about sex positions me to be called a whore and all kinds of things. And now I would, if you call me a whore, I'm like, thank you, okay. So you know so I would like to first ask you what how was sex brought up when when you were growing up? How was it discussed? And
It was not like at all. So, not really. There's sexual education at school, and even that was like a Southern Baptist missionary school, so not really. Um, and then my family is super conservative, so it wasn't anything that we talked about at the dinner table. But through older girlfriends and checking books out at the library, and then eventually like the internet became a big thing, and you could ask like the questions that you weren't too afraid to ask, like what is this peach fuzz, like things like that. So um, I think it was more independent learning about everything. Um, but yeah, I think that's a pretty normal experience for Asian cultures.
yeah, I'm trying to, maybe that's why Haitian and Asian are so close phonetically, because we just like every because our parents are very similar. They
Yeah,
raise us similarly.
it
um
sounds like it. That's crazy to me. I bet like okay, this makes sense. This is why I think we get along so well.
right. Um, when I was in Haiti, surprisingly, I had a Filipino neighbor. People were like, how the fuck did they get there? I don't know. But it's like we literally we would it was the same shit. We just spoke different languages,
Hmm.
like our parents. So yeah, so sex was not discussed at all. So growing up in that culture, did you feel like you had some shame surrounding it?
Oh, absolutely. It, it there it- Even just going through like puberty and things like that, there understanding your menstrual cycle, there weren't a lot of resources that you could ask. But I'll say that I don't want to call her out, but the teacher that I had was very open-minded about the questions that I had and very discreet about them, mainly because they were related to just like things like, I think I'm starting my period, but I don't know. Like, how would I know? And like, well, because you're gonna start menstruating blood. And like, oh, that's that's very helpful. And like what is, like, when would I use a tampon versus a pad and things like that? And what does this mean for my body now that it's entering into this phase? And that was all really important conversations to have with an adult that I trusted a lot, but there was no institutional guidance on that, not really. Um, yeah. I don't know. Was that similar to your experience too, since you
Oh,
come from a
very much.
really.
I went to a school in Haiti that was founded by white missionaries,
Mhm.
and they had us watch this video. Y'all probably watched it too. This Christian dude who used to be in movies, he was talking about abstinence, and that's the only thing we were taught: abstinence, don't fuck till you marry. And I went through puberty a little early. I was 10. It was like a day before my 10th birthday, and my mom basically said, if a man touches your privates, you're gonna get pregnant. I was 9, 10 years old. So
Okay.
my dad was coming to get my laundry so that he could give it to the maid to go wash it. And my underwear was on. I'm like, if my dad touches my underwear, I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna get pregnant. Like
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
so insane.
right? So it's like my education was terrible. I learned how babies were made by asking a 11th grader, like, yo, how are babies made? She was like, you put a penis in a vagina. I'm like,
Right. I remember we had because I went to a very similar, I guess, environment where it was a Christian missionary school in Korea. That I remember there was a presentation for the sixth graders where this sexual health professional came, and she gave us all a piece of gum, and then later told us that that was our purity. So now if you engage in premarital sex, your gum has already been chewed, and the next person that chews it, it just gets grosser and grosser and grosser. So there was no like there was nothing taught about autonomy or consent or uh the different ways that your body changes. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of
there was none, and we had to learn the hard way, pun intended.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a journey, and also like I think I didn't even begin to feel um empowered sexually until I was in like I'm in my mid 30s now, mid 30s o'clock. So my question for you is, when did you start becoming more confident and like shedding the shame, and how did you, if you have?
Yeah. No, we're on where I think we're on the same track. And my journey with being comfortable and understanding my sexuality and my body is still pretty recent. And it was really because I started thinking about family planning, and I was like, how does this all work? Like, when are my fertile days? And like, if I'm charting my body temperature, what does that mean? And one of my girlfriends gave me this really great book that like broke down, like a chart of what different labias look like. Like, that's amazing. Like,
Right.
there's no shame in that. That's the most natural thing in the world. Women all look differently, but I think we're taught just to hide it all, and to not ask questions, and things happen to us as opposed to us having the agency and the autonomy to take it on ourselves and
Right.
decide that path.
Mm, that's actually it. we were taught to have things happen to us, and we get to say yes or no, but we don't get to say I want this. And if you say you
Right.
want this, especially in my culture, you're like, you're a little too salacious,
Yes.
a little
Yeah.
Jezebel.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Same.
So what I've done though, and also another thing that put me into shame is that I'll be speaking about my own experiences around older Haitians, and that's my bad. And like I'll have a parent or an aunt correct what I'm saying, so it doesn't appear as if I admitted to sucking dick or some shit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
No, that's not what she said. Nah, nigga, I said it. And if you
Well,
ask her, it was amazing. So
you're so much more brave than me. I just like politely don't talk about it.
I started to do it because I realized that's the only way I can break my shame.
Mm.
Like I'm doing it for me, because the more I remain silent about what I do, it makes me feel like there's something wrong about what I'm doing. And the same
Right.
gum analogy, like where I'm being used, chewed out, I have to keep saying it so that so I condition myself. I mean, it's been 34 years and the world is still reinforcing that the feminine sexuality isn't right or appropriate. So I'm always pushing the limits for me and for them, because I think also as my parents and my aunts in the older generation sees how liberated I am with my sexuality, it allows them to be sexually liberated too. Because you don't stop getting horny because you're 65 or 70, bro.
Right.
You still want to smash. And the fact that I'm being open about that gives them an opportunity to explore their sexuality too. So it's kind of, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. No. I love it. I love everything about that.
Man. But I just have to be okay with being labeled the family hoe, just because I like to talk about sex. It's okay. I realize that the universe created every single energy that exists, even the Jezebel energy, which is the energy of like being sexually empowered. Because one of the stories they taught us is during the Haitian Revolution, a lot of the women would tap into their seductive feminine power so that they could get the masters to trust them and love them and give them information. And they would then use
Hmm.
that information, bring it to the military, like, yo, master is going to be here at 6:30. Master's allergic to blah, 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 and then fuck them up like that. So there is power in every frequency and energy that exists in the universe. If you've been imbued with the power of Jezebel, bitch, that's some powerful energy. You have to
Yeah.
learn how, you don't have to do anything, but if you learn how to control, master that energy, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. Then you're Cleopatra.
You're Cleopatra. Why do you think they're trying to lock up the pussy? Because the pussy's powerful. Men have been
Yeah.
paying for pussy for ages.
Yeah. Oh
Did I,
God.
did I say that?
No, but I know what you mean. I know what
Right?
you mean.
It's true. You would be
There's, I
kidding.
mean, there's so many different in history, just like Medihara, Cleopatra, like, um, you know, this is just a tale as old as time.
That's exactly it. So I have two final questions about this that are official. The first one is, what does it mean to actually be sexually empowered?
Yeah. I think it's agency. I think it's, the autonomy to decide your own path and understanding that like shame is a construct that changes depending on time and culture. Like in the Victorian ages, it was shameful to show your ankles. Who the fuck cares about your ankles now? So, to be empowered with your sexuality is to know that that power lies within you. And it really sucks what's happening in the Supreme Court and everything now because it's like it's a total code shift from 50 years ago. So I don't know. Ask me after the midterm elections what it means to be empowered.
Mm, that is like the most heartbreaking observation, right? Because we're in a time where science, like we have science. It's not like we're back in the 50s, where we didn't understand the feminine body, we didn't understand life, we didn't. This is literally a conscious decision to force people to do something, only poor people rather, to do
Only
something
four.
that is not in their best interest.
Hmm.
We also don't have a country who gives a fuck about children. You put them in these freaking the homes, the foster homes. They get abused, they get neglected, they don't get loved and hugged, so they have no stability in their root chakra. So when they come out, they have no real identity, but survival.
Hmm.
Survival consciousness is not the true you. It is what you need to do to engage in so you can live. The true you is when you relax, you're safe. And we're not creating an environment for poor kids to be safe. So why the fuck are you forcing people to have children?
I don't know. I
Anyways,
really don't know.
I don't know, but if anything, we gonna change this, sis.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I also, because maybe it's the Haitian in me, I am not a nonviolent protester because I understand that in order for me to be free as a Haitian, my ancestors had to know that they had to be willing to die. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
they literally were putting babies in cannons to prevent men behind them from being shot by cannons so I could sit here. So for me, we have to learn to not be afraid to die. If we care about this shit, we gonna protest like it's fucking like our lives depend on it. We get shot, so fucking be it. We'll come back and we'll keep this shit going because actually none of us can die. I was looking at Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant has done more for me posthumously than he did while he was alive. Just because he left a body of work that I've been going to when I was low. And he left that body of work for all of us forever. So my great 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 grandchildren could have a low moment and Google Black Mamba and see that man telling them, keep going. You're determined, like it's all about your mindset. So the point is there is no death. He's still helping me. He's helping you. So go. We need to fight. Don't give a fuck about dying. Otherwise, it's okay to then we're okay with being enslaved by the consciousness of those who haven't evolved as much as us.
Hmm. Hmm. I am all for protesting.
That's
Let's
like I used to
do it.
protest so much, but I started realizing that the protest didn't accomplish as much as I wanted to. What it did accomplish was it gave me a space to vent and remove energy from me so that I can consciously decide how to move.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. No, but there's also, like a huge value in that too. Like, um, just being at different protests, even in just the cannabis space. So many
Yeah,
of the people that I met, like in 2018 when I first was here, that was all I was doing, just kind of like understanding where, like, what are the different perspectives here.
right.
That is super helpful too because it educated me really, really fast.
Absolutely. Well, that was good, and I didn't realize how topical that question was too. um, so my other question with this segment is, what advice do you have to a young woman and man, non-gender? Whenever I'm talking about men, women, y'all, please don't. English is my third language. Like I'm trying, but I want to include everybody. So what advice would you have to someone, to an individual who is trying to develop some autonomy and become sexually empowered?
Hmm. What advice would I have? Um, just, you know, it's okay to evolve your thinking. Um, Growth is the most important human experience. So, just always if you kind of pin it on safety and consent, then eh, you know, have fun.
I love it. And that's a secret. Have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. And for though I have one more. I know that people who deal with a lot of shame, they're in their minds a lot during sex. So they can't even enjoy it. So what I would get the advice I would have for you is know that your body is a program. If you tell it to do something, it will listen. So if you start seeing yourself thinking too much, just tell your body, I trust you. You know what to do, and I'm gonna surrender to you now. And you let the body take over because there's nothing more animalistic than fucking. So your brain has no purpose, no reason to be in there. You just need to close your eyes and let the bitch do what it does. Okay?
I
So
love
that's
it.
right. That's my advice. You sit there, have a little prayer with your body, say, this is great. I surrender to your knowledge and your wisdom. And it knows what to do. I mean, there's a last piece. Technically, according to African spirituality, your ancestors live inside of you. My ancestors have been fucking since the beginning of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I gotta do is like, yo, Yo, whoever the main bitch, whoever has the best Jezebel energy, come forward right now, bitch, and help a motherfucker out.
Or, and then generations spawn before you. Like that's how it happens. It's the most
That's how
natural
it
thing in the
happens.
world.
So think about, that wisdom is in your DNA. Just surrender to
Mhm.
it and be okay. I know a lot of men tell me this. Like, you think it's easy for us? We have to learn. Who told you that? Because it's like a co-creative act. You guys do this together, and if you again surrender to the wisdom of the body, you're gonna make beautiful art. Maybe it might have a baby.
Yeah, yeah. This is the most natural thing in the world. Like
Think,
if you
think,
even just look at like the Kama Sutra or like everything else, this is beyond our personal like lifetime. So just
absolutely.
accept we're humans.
And yeah, except we're humans. And for the listeners, at one point I might actually do an episode on sex magic and how you use the energy of sex and kundalini to manifest in this reality. Very powerful shit. um you'd never waste an orgasm without using that energy to program time space reality into what you want. If I'm with a man and I notice that he has some self-esteem issues, I'm going to use the energy of the kundalini to heal him
Oh.
by speaking confidence into him. Like, right, okay, I'll give it to you. Now we're in here. This is how you do it. If you want to manifest using sex right before you come, because that's when the brain is in theta, it's most receptive and susceptible to programming your subconscious. So if the man has low self-esteem, right before he comes, I say you are powerful, you are strong, you can accomplish anything, and I say the name like X can pa, and then I put it in the subconscious and it pop. Watch,
Ah.
watch a month. You'll start seeing results. You can also do it for a job. You can do it for a car. You can do it for any, because everything is energy. That's it. That's the sex magic for you.
That's
Sorry, mom.
amazing.
My mom's like, "How'd you learn this, mom? Don't eat. Why are you watching this?"
No, but it's powerful, and I think that's a
Yeah.
really, like that's a really important thing to say too, because you're in a very vulnerable position, like literally.
Yeah.
So to understand that that's like something that your partner needs, that is so powerful, and you're the only person that can give that to them.
You know, it is extremely powerful, and I think that that's what Giselle Bundchen be doing for Tom Brady.
I think it's that, and they don't eat sugar.
They don't eat sugar. They be doing rituals. They don't eat sugar.
No, I think like there was something that I read a while ago about like they just don't eat any sugar and they haven't for a decade. Like their sugar intake is from like a limited amount of fresh fruit.
Fruits and stuff. I respect
Yeah.
that. I respect it, man. So if it works for Tom Brady, like, wow,
Yeah.
yo, this has been so exceptional. I want to thank you so much for being open and like not shying away from any of my intrusive ass questions.
No, I loved it. There's nothing wrong with talking about sexuality, and even just like two young women, non-white young women talking about it. That there's not a lot of conversations
Right,
like this.
and from our strict ass backgrounds.
I know. Yeah.
Man, yeah, honestly, it's been very refreshing, and I'm excited. And you are actually the first guest from the relaunch
Oh
of the
wow, I'm so
podcast. Yeah,
honored.
it was
Thank you
great.
for having me.
Thank you for agreeing, and thank you for being supportive.
Of course.
It means a lot.
Anytime.
Yeah. So, I'm super grateful that you came. I owe you some beer because that's the gift I give to all my guests. Um,
Excellent.
what do you if you're a beer drinker, what kind of beer do you typically drink?
I love sours.
Okay.
I'm not a big nah, I like IPAs. I like sours the best, and then like a Hefeweizen, anything like that. A triple. Those are my other
I got
favorites.
you. We have a sour pineapple at 67
Ooh.
degrees. Oh, we have a ton of IPAs. We got West Coast, East Coast. Those the coast
Oh,
are always
nice.
beefing. Just kidding.
Yeah. Whatever.
I choose no sides. But this is excellent. So as a guest, I'll get you some sour pineapple, and I'll figure West Coast versus East Coast. Which IPA are you like a bitter more?
Oh.
You like it more bitter? You say I don't want to
Uh,
choose. You Cardi B.
yeah, I like them all.
All right. Well, thank you so much. with I think we have like 2 minutes. With 2 minutes, if you have you gave us some parting words on sexual empowerment, but now if there's anything like if this is the last if in 200 years your descendants are googling your ass and they find this episode, what would you want them to know? What message do you have for them?
Hmm. In 200 years,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's say since like a pandemic happens every 100 years, I would hope that they like, that you weathered the new one, whatever, reasonably well. Um, I think if my ancestors were to see this, I hope that if they do have any hangups about sexuality, that those kind of fall to the side because they're only here because I got busy with my husband. You know, that's just the most natural thing in the world. Um, but also that there's like things are always changing, but they're also always the same. Just have a sense of resiliency and know that the most important thing is family and friends become family too. They become family really, really quick. But then also working with your hands is really, really important. So I hope that they are also actively gardening and like know how to run a sewing machine and all that kind of stuff. In 200 years, I think that's still going to be important.
I love that. Man, this is excellent. I really felt like I was sitting there, one of your descendants, just like if I found this of one of my great grandmothers, yo, I'd shit myself. Because this is first of all, you look mad like self assured, like you know what the fuck you're talking about. I've been through this, and I'm telling you, you wouldn't be here if I didn't fuck. So go.
Yeah. Consent and safety. That's it. Have fun.
Have fun. Well, I am grateful that you are here. And, infinite love, infinite light to you and the fam.
Be great, you. You too. You too. I really appreciate you having me on as a guest and being the first one at your relaunch. I just want you to know that I support everything that you do, and you're such a badass individual. And anything you need from me is you have it.
I respect you. I thank you so much. And I appreciate that. Like, I'm receiving it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Let me stop the recording. Au
Sure.
revoir, mes amis.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.